This morning, as part of Mental Health Awareness Month, we're looking at how parents can find a mental health professional if they're struggling to find help for their kids. Joining us right now in Studio 61 to talk about it is Dr. Laura Saunders from the Institute of Living. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Erica.
We do appreciate your time. A lot to talk about here. We're going to talk about how to find a mental health care professional, but first, talk about why mental health is so important. It cannot be overlooked.
So I think one of the good things to come out of COVID was an awareness how important mental health is, because when people were isolated and more anxious and, they realized, wow, if my mental health isn't good, my physical health isn't good.
Right.
So that was a really good sort of connection for people to make. And it's true. If you lack quality in your emotional well-being, no matter how good you feel physically, it will actually deteriorate your physical health as well.
Mm-hmm.
So they go hand in hand. You can't have good physical health without mental health.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
It really did shine a light on how important it was. And it did so much so it became difficult for some people to find healthcare professionals. I know several people who have had a hard time finding a therapist or counselor for their children and even for themselves, because a lot of therapists are just unable to continue to take new clients. They're just overloaded. What should parents do in that type of situation?
So there's two main avenues for parents to look at. I would start with your pediatrician's office, because they often have a list of referrals, and more pediatric offices are having integrated behavioral health specialists. So a behavioral health specialist in the office, so that if a problem's identified, you walk down the hall and you go talk to the behavioral health specialist. Mm-hmm. The other good source is schools, because they carry lists, they have support personnel, but they also can help get you connected. School support folks really only deal with school-related issues, so if it's a bigger issue, they'll refer you out, but those are good places to start.
Mm-hmm. And so much about Mental Health Awareness Month is about bringing it to the forefront, making it commonplace. No one should feel embarrassed or uncomfortable to say that they are seeing a therapist, that they are getting counseling for whatever it is.
It is about reducing the stigma, and stigma is the expectation of rejection based on an aspect of identity. So if I expect to be rejected because I have been in therapy, or I expect to be rejected because of some aspect of my identity, we are really looking to reduce stigma. So for people to say, when a lot of the big name sports stars come out and say, I struggle with depression, or I struggle with OCD or anxiety, I've been in therapy, I'm on medication. Honestly, those kinds of things are helpful, because it makes you realize that it's not all that rare. It's far more common than you realize.
And what people need to understand is that this affects all walks of life.
It affects everyone across all races, across all socioeconomic groups. And the more we talk about it, the more it shines a light on the fact that we need people to get help when they're struggling. Because if you're struggling, you're not functioning to the best of your ability. And when you're a child, if you're struggling for 6 months or 9 months or a year, that's a significant portion of your life. So it's absolutely critical that people get help.
It's so important to remember that your emotional health, your mental health is just as important as your physical. They go hand in hand. They are intricately connected.
Right. And to sort of say, oh, you're fine, it'll go away, that depression or that severe anxiety, it'll just go away. I mean, there are times where it's situational, but what you look for is, does it hinder functioning? Is your child not able to go to school? Are you not able to make it to work? Are you missing days of work? Are you, for adults, are you engaging in excess use of substances as a way to manage things? So you're looking at whether or not it hinders functioning.
Right, and I think the big takeaway is that if you feel that you need help, don't be afraid to ask. There is help out there.
And sometimes it starts with asking your friend or your neighbor, I think I'm struggling with anxiety and depression. Do you know anyone, right? Sometimes saying it out loud also really helps, because then you get support from someone else.
And that person may have also gotten help and you don't know it yet.
Absolutely.
Really opens the door of communication and is helpful. Dr. Saunders, thank you so much. We could go on for another hour. We really could. We do appreciate your time.
Thank you.